Hey everybody, welcome to Speaking of Schmoedown, a sports talk show devoted to the movie trivia Schmoedown. I am Jay Wade, and as usual, we've got our guy up here for the numbers, our stats man, Double D. How you doing, Dan?
Man, that was one hell of a match. I couldn't be happier.
Which one? We had four this week.
I was thinking the last ones. I'm like, all of them were good. All of them.
Yeah, they were. Joining us once again as guest co-host, we've got from Schmoes of the North, Matt Soda Man. How you do? Or so is Soda Sax Man, isn't it?
So my nickname is Soda, but my social media handle is Soda the Saxman because I've been a sax player for over 20 years now.
Yeah, and it's been like 8 months, and I still have trouble getting the Soda and the Sax Man mixed up, and it's just terrible.
It's all good, my man. And thank you again for having me.
Yeah, you're here. We're glad you're here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm glad this time it worked out.
Hell yeah. And we're on stereo again. This is our third time with the show premiering on stereo here, or streaming rather, at the same time as we do on YouTube. So if you like that, you can go over there and you can comment. We will take comments. Also, you can find that over there at the Jcast Network. And also at Twitter at the Jcast Network, and sub here too, please. Help us grow our channel and grow what we're doing here. We love doing it. We had some really kick-ass matches, and yeah, actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and bring him in now. Yeah, he's like, yeah, go ahead, come on in, Frenchie. We got Frenchie from Schmoes of the North. He is going to
hold on. There we go. I was like, we lost half of Dan. We only got a single D.
Oh my gosh. The visuals that just popped into my head. Oh wow.
Oh.
But yeah, we've got a game that we're gonna do here for our opening segment when we talk about the matches, so that we're not just talking about the matches. But to explain that, we got Frenchie, our producer here of the show. What are we gonna be doing?
Yeah, we're doing a version of our own hot potato type game. Basically, for every match, you guys have 5 minutes to talk. The first match is a test run, okay? No one gets eliminated. But the second match, the last person talking at 5 minutes will be eliminated for the third match conversation. And a third match conversation, the person who was last talking at 5 minutes will actually skip out 10 minutes from the Mary E. Wilson interview. So be sure you time yourself correctly, because two people is going to get eliminated during this game, and one person definitely is going to be eliminated for the interview. So be careful, boys.
You're evil.
And throw in the wrench. Oh, Frenchie, get back in here. Throw in the little wrench we decided right before we came on.
Yeah. And we're not first time doing this game. We're not making it easy for the boys. Send in your questions. They have to juggle talking about the match and answering your questions. So if you want to make it hard for them, hey, bring on the question, baby. All right.
Yep. Looking forward to this. Well, we got about 50 seconds before we start here. Before we start, I want to take this moment to thank Dan the Goat Merle. That's his new name, Dan the Goat Merle, for bringing the points in against Josh the Merc Rayner in the Schmoedown Fantasy League. Thank you so much. I that's why I drafted you first, Dan, and thank you very much for those points. Hopefully, I won't hear anything else out of Josh until the next time he tries to beat me with whoever he picks against my amazing and marvelous roster. I take Dan on once a week for every week from now till the end of March. So that's going to be fun too. And I believe we are about to start. Are we not, Frenchie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's now 5 minutes.
Okay, go ahead. I'm going to yield this start.
Okay, so basically the first match of the week was the Intergeekdom match of Amaru Moses versus Jesse the Jackal Swift. Now, I honestly had never seen anything on these guys before, so I didn't really know what to expect. And it wasn't a high-scoring match like we were used to in the past, but it was still a very good match.
Yeah, they really performed above average according to the bell curve that I did.
We got a question or a comment.
Hey guys, it's Dagan. Just driving home from work right now, listening to you guys in the car. Man, those are some crazy matches yesterday. Just insanity. I wanted to present a scenario for you guys. So if Dan Murrell beats Adam Collins in the title match, and it goes like 8 rounds of sudden death again, wouldn't the logical next step be an Iron Man match between those two? What do you guys think?
I mean, yeah, the logical step is the Iron Man match, but I don't know if they ever want to do those again.
No. You do not stop. You keep going round after round, hour after hour. If it takes 12 hours, dude, and you're into like the 130th round, dude, that's the game. Treat it like I'm sorry to go back to the traditional sports comparison, but that's what I love about baseball. You're not playing a clock. You're playing each other. You're playing the other players. It ends when someone gets more points, when someone gets more runs. That would be amazing. That is an Iron Man match.
I would say that only if Dan Murrell wins the belt and they treat it like who's going to win that rubber match.
That's the rubber match, yeah.
I think that's the only way that it will be an Iron Man match if they do it again. But if Adam Collins wins, then I think then maybe that it's. I wouldn't know what to go
but
with that.
I would throw in a wrinkle in there. I would not make it 30 minutes. I would go full 1 hour Broadway.
I like my way. But back to Jesse Swift, I was surprised that he used a JTE on the first question.
Yeah.
I mean, JT, using JT's the best of the best. Use them. I mean, Murrell used, everybody does. But I was surprised on the first question. And the dreams dark as of late question from Lord of the Rings, question 3 that he missed. I mean, I took an educated guess. I think he was flustered on that. I don't think that was one he was stumped on.
Okay, because he's never played before, has he?
No,
not in this league. I mean, has he ever done fan league stuff or anything?
I don't think so.
So yeah, that is possible. Very first match under the lights, sort of thing, right?
That's what I'm thinking on that specific one, because I don't know shit about, I would get the crap kicked out of me in Inner Geekdom and all the fantasy stuff, but I mean, I knew that one, and I don't mean that as a slight at all, but I'm just saying, if he's definitely of higher caliber than me, he had, that had to be like a brain fart moment, man, and I felt that one for him, because I was like, man, that's gonna hurt in the end.
And okay, speaking of brain fart moments, the elephant of the whole entire match was Superman the Motion Picture. What do you guys think of that? Like, obviously, Koi should have challenged that. Why do you think he didn't?
I think maybe it was just a matter of confusion at the point, but I mean, maybe we just didn't think of it.
If it was any other manager, I would kind of lean towards that, but because it's Koi, because he is so steeped in comic book lore and especially comic book movies, I am shocked he did not challenge that.
Yeah, fair enough. I do like they were consistent though. They both missed question 6. I got my notes over here, guys. I'm fucking ready to rock and roll. And Swift used another JT on question 7. I have that in my notes. And I also have that he missed question 12. I don't know. I'm trying not to talk because that's cheating, and we're gonna work that in somehow later. Where if you intentionally don't talk like Dan is doing, you automatically get booted out.
No,
you can't sit here and wait for someone to talk.
I want to add this when it comes to the challenge. PJ Campbell was on backstage this week, and he did say the reason why that answer was in.
Oh, okay, guys.
I'm not talking because you keep interrupting me, so I'm just
interrupt me back. We just had Soda was eliminated. Well, actually, that was the warm-up round. Frenchie.
Yeah, Lou. I took that one for the
That's how it's going to work. That's how it's going to work.
I had the opportunity to eliminate Soda. Obviously, I will. I just wanted to show you how it feels like. So the real round starts.
Oh, yeah, my heart's already beaten, baby.
And the real round starts whenever I wanted to start. So I'll remove myself and good luck.
Okay, so it starts now. But basically, the point I was making was PJ Campbell wasn't backstage this week, and he said the reason why that answer was that way is because apparently whoever wrote it confused that and Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which kind of I don't know what the process is, but it makes me wonder if there fact checking for questions then.
There is, because we had Abby Friedel on our very first show, and she says that there is an editor that does fact check.
Okay. Yeah, that's something I wasn't aware of. So that is good to hear. So it just sounds like it's one that just slipped through the cracks. So I mean, what I really enjoyed most though was nobody really piled on to the writers for once for this.
Yeah, that was great. And
Yes.
sorry, but I'm gonna bulldoze all y'all motherfuckers. We're on match 2, man. We got to keep this moving. I love this, dude. I love this. As far as match 2, what Ray? The question 2 was great. What Ray wanted to use to escape Jakku? Because I don't know if you guys caught it in the moment, but I caught it in the moment that most people would just automatically think the Millennium Falcon because that's what they
did.
use. Oh, I caught it, dude. I was like, no, that was the garbage ship.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called, but they were running to the other ship first.
Yeah,
that was a really written question.
Yeah, as a Star Wars fan, and I'm listening very closely to the Star Wars division, I instantly knew exactly what they meant. And it was not the Millennium Falcon, it was the quad. I can't even remember what it is, but I remember what it was. I remember that. Because then the TIE fighters destroyed the ship. It's like, the garbage will do. And then
we got a comment here, everybody.
Yeah, got to give mad props to PJ Campbell and the whole writing crew for these questions this season. They're on a whole nother level. I know some people were maybe complaining about the 5-pointer for Merle being too easy, but I didn't know what the fuck 7 pounds was. I never even heard of that movie. So, yeah, PJ and the writing team are crushing it this season.
Yes.
Yeah, so when it comes to that, see, I thought it was the movie Hitch because I'm not mistaken. Something similar happens to him in the movie Hitch.
So he had an allergic reaction to shellfish, and the woman went to the store to get ibuprofen. I have heard of 7 pounds.
I just thought it was called 3 pounds. So I would have got that wrong.
But I never seen the movie, so I wouldn't have known that answer.
Yeah. No, I just remembered him being like swollen face and stuff in Hitch. I just didn't remember how that was, and I've never seen 7 pounds.
I thought it was Hitch first, but then I'm like, no, it's not Hitch. He didn't die in the bathtub.
Yeah, I got a question for you guys though about in the wheel round for match 2. Marie spun Return of the Jedi, and that was her first spit. Did she look 100% confident to you in that pick, or did it look like she was eyeing some other stuff and was thinking about risking it?
I think she just got nervous because she didn't look sure 100%. And she probably got confused because Vader comes down and I think she just got confused. Maybe we can ask her that when we
see her.
But I think she just said Vader. I'm like, no, it's Palpatine. It's Palpatine.
And technically, she was right. Like, I guess for a long time he was overseeing it, but it is a line in the movie pretty much where the master is coming to oversee the construction. Pretty much, that is specifically in the movie.
Yeah, I was leaning toward Palpatine, but I still wasn't quite sure because it does kind of feel like Vader is there in order to oversee everything and make sure it goes down right. But I don't know. She did great in the overall match, dude. Every round, every question, she did really, really good. Very impressed.
Yeah, 100%. You could definitely tell that the Dragon Con experience definitely helped her in this, whereas maybe not so much with Jesse Swift because he's never played in front of the camera before.
Yeah, and I got a good look as to how these Dragon Con players are going to play and the extent of their knowledge, perhaps. Look at Dan. He's trying not to talk because he's watching the clock. That's cool. That's cool, baby. It was a great match. If I have to be the one that goes out because I ain't cheating like these motherfuckers over here.
Hey, I'm not cheating. I just don't know what I'm going to say. That's the problem.
Dude, there's plenty to say. I'm looking at my notes here. Saying he didn't like his first spin, so he respun on Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
That's one of my notes. There are 3 rounds in each match. That's also here in my notes. We got a Saved by the Bell.
So I've never watched any of these Dragon Con matches. Do you guys know if every question they get has multiple choice as an option? Because I was thinking that might be something to throw off some of these players this year because they're not used to answering choice.
I'm not sure, but I've never seen the Dragon Con players. So, I mean, I don't think they do because they have to be very specific.
And from everything I've heard about the Dragon Con questions, they are leaps and bounds harder than anything we'll ever see in the Schmoedown. So Jay is out. Okay.
Yeah, Jay. So the next match is the Marisol McKay with Vinny Mercutio. So personally,
Mancuso.
Yeah. So honestly, I think Marisol McKay did what we've all seen her do consistently throughout the whole last season, where she is supposed to be in this league. She is made her stance that she is to be in this league, and she actually got 6 out of her 3 out of her 4 questions right. And had she gone to multiple choice, that would have made her a little bit better. But I think I forgot what her question was, but I think it was more of a. What do you think, Soda?
Well, I think she played good. I think they both played good, but I honestly don't think it was the best effort Miss Marisol's put forward yet.
True, but I mean,
and you could tell by the look on her face that she knew it wasn't her best match either.
True, but I mean,
and it's not saying it was a bad match. It's just
it wasn't a bad match.
Didn't quite live up to the hype.
Yeah, she definitely came back in the final round. I'm looking at my scoreboard. She got all 3 of her questions at the final round. Vinny just kind of fell on his 2-pointer, got his 3-pointer, and just failed at that last moment. So,
and even him, he played a good game. He managed to hold his own against Marisol McKay.
Yeah, I think he did. It was better improvement over last season because I wasn't that impressed with him last season. But this season, it's like, okay, this was a little bit better. Obviously, his next match should be a lot better. I'm expecting a lot more from him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Marisol McKay did a great job. Definitely deserves the win.
100%. And I think when it comes to Vinny, though, I also think that having Matt Winston as a manager, I think works better for him than it did Kate.
Yeah. And the fact that she actually got opponent's choice and landed on Middle Earth.
Yes.
I did not. I mean, I'm like, oh, this is going to hurt. But but she pulled it off. And I think had she gone to multiple choice with that first question or the question that she missed, I think she would have gotten at least some ground, gained some ground, and it would eventually she would actually been in the lead. Yeah, she would actually been in the lead going into the final round.
Yeah, when he chose Middle Earth, I was like, okay, now we're in for a show because we don't know a lot of her strengths. We don't know if inner geekdom categories are her strength. And yeah, she managed to actually do really, really good navigating her way through it. I mean, kudos to her. It's a tough Middle Earth is one of the tougher categories in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I've seen all the films, and I'm like, how do you know all these things?
Right?
I've read even some of the books. I'm like, I don't even know all this stuff, and I like the Inner Geekdom division. Well, I even did the audition tape for Inner Geekdom, but I'm like, I'm so glad I'm not playing because I would be out immediately.
I'd have to say that is, in terms of Inner Geekdom categories, that is the densest category because there's so much exposition, it seems, in that movie that you really, really, really have to pay attention. Yeah, I would freely admit I fell asleep watching Fellowship in the Ring in theaters.
Well, I didn't. I thought it was interesting, and of course, I was there with my mom, and she's like, "What? There's more? They didn't finish it?" It's like, well, I mean, I didn't know what was going on.
And then years later, you show her the expanded edition. It's like there's even more.
But luckily, we won't have to get questions from the expanded edition. So
yes, we do. There will be.
Yeah. So I mean, and well, obviously, the next match would be Dan Murrell. But obviously, we have to keep talking.
Yeah, we do have to keep talking. But I mean, is there any idea who Marisol's next opponent's going to be?
I don't know. I think, well, obviously, the schedule hasn't been up updated yet. So
You know, better watch the fuck out for Marisol McKee this season, man. She looks hungry. Oh man, really looking forward to see what she does next. Who would you guys like to see her face next? I was thinking the winner of Dan Merle and Liz Shannon Miller would be a really good matchup, either of those two, for Marisol to play next.
I think you mean John Roca because Liz
Yeah.
Shannon was playing John Roca, not Dan Merle.
I'd agree with that. Would like to see Marisol go up against one of the legends now, because we do know she's a really, really great player. So I mean, I think it's time maybe to put her up against one of the establishment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, personally,
Roca and Liz Shannon Miller, the winner of that, not Merle. Duh.
all right, he has corrected himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think either John Roca would be a good.
Oh, I survived. Oh, okay. I don't know what happened here. Wow.
You're on mute, Wade.
Yep. Dude, holy crap. Okay, so that was the first time of doing that game. My heart is still beating. I don't know about you guys, but I loved it. It was a rush. Obviously, we're gonna need to fine tune some things. But what do you guys think?
You know what? I think it's a great hot seat to be on. Because
Yeah,
you're having to watch the clock and you're like, okay, when is that son of a bitch going to drop us out?
Yeah, and then when you get down, we don't know exactly how how much time we have left, but we know we're down to within a minute, and then we get a comment, and it's like, oh my gosh.
What I'll do next time, I'll randomize the time for every match, so you guys are gonna be on your toes. And plus, that's what I'm doing now also for this one. When there's a comment, I pause the timer, so the comment doesn't go in the timer. So it extends the time of the segment a bit, and you guys still don't know what's happening.
okay, all right. That's a little bit more fair because it is fair to look at the clock and and kind of hit to someone else. It is a strategy, and that's why I'm being singled out because I figured out a loophole in this new game that we're doing.
And if find the loopholes, I'll break them, my friend, and I'll find a way to make it even harder, my friend. So
I'll try to find loopholes.
Yeah.
Before we go to Double D's sexy numbers, we got one more comment just come in. We will take that really quick.
That is a cool format for sure. I dig it. It's almost like Pardon the Interruption on ESPN. Maybe call it Pardon the Schmoebot? Just an idea.
Pardon the interruption. No, that doesn't quite work.
But right now we are going to move on to sexy numbers with Double D. You guys have fun, and I hope to learn something. And I'll see y'all on the flip side.
Okay, educate me with some math, my man.
All right, so we'll bring up that first. So we see that the dungeon has remained in first place with 11 points. And I should say that this will spoil the Dan Merle and Jeff Snyder match, just so everyone's clear. And usual suspects are in second place with 6 points. Swag is in third place with 4 points. And Corruption is in fourth place with 2 points. The Quirky Mercs goes up by a position in fifth place, even though they have no points. The Stars is in sixth place, even though they have no points. The Finstock and the Den are in last place because they haven't played just yet. But as we will see, they are going to be playing next week. And here's the forecast for the remaining of March. Next slide, please. Next graph, please. Okay, so we see Corruption. The high is at 11 points. Their low is at -1 point. So, but most likely they'll probably be within 8 or 2 points. Swag, they go down. Their high goes down with 11 points, and their low is at 2 points. But they'll probably be somewhere between 9 and 4 points. The Finstock Exchange doesn't change from last week because they haven't played yet. The Quirky Mercs high is between 18. Their high is 18 points, and their low is -4 points, and they'll probably end up between 14 and 0 points. The Stars drop down from their high is at 19 points, their low is at -4 points, and will probably be somewhere between 15 and 0 points. The Den doesn't change because they haven't played yet. The Usual Suspects high is at 12 points. Their low is at 4 points. And they'll probably end up somewhere between 10 and 6 points. The dungeon, who's in first place, that's a record for them. Their high is 17 points, their low is 9 points, and they will probably end March somewhere between 15 and 11 points. And if you look at the dungeon for a second, the blue bar that I say that is, they'll probably end up with 15 and 11 points. That kind of overshadows 4 factions: the usual suspects, the Finstock Exchange, the swag, and corruption. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they will be over them, but most likely they have a better chance at being over them by the end of March. So that they could retain first place, but obviously the Stars, the Den, and the Quirky Mercs still have an opportunity to gain some ground and actually take the leaderboard. So if we move on to the next one, we have a special.
I just don't want to shout out Ryan's comment first. Is like, do we expect anything else but the dungeon to be in first place? Right at this point, yes, but I mean, like, you got to remember last year going into the season, Finstock Exchange was supposed to win everything, and look how that turned out. So
yeah, number one, this is only to the end of March 26th specifically, and yes, they do have some competition. There's a potential for the Quirky Mercs, the Stars, and the Den to overtake first place. But the dungeon has the best shot because they're already up there.
Yeah.
And they only have 2 more matches left. So they have a smaller chance to lose more than those 3 divisions of factions that have a harder time to gain the points because they haven't played yet. But they're not, nothing's guaranteed. I will say that. Nothing is guaranteed. But I'm just saying that the dungeon will most likely be over the usual suspects, the swag, the Finstock Exchange, and corruption, because they will have a harder time to get up there. Now, that's all I'm saying.
Okay.
So let's move on to the next slide. So Frenchie actually asked me what were the top 5 and low 5 categories from round 2. For singles, the top one is genres. For example, like sci-fi fantasy, action adventure, thriller, horror. Genres are the most prevalent in the last 3 years. That's from 2018 to 2020.
Wow.
Directors. This also includes the category directors and individual directors like Tim Burton and so on and so forth. That's the next highest category with 52 occurrences. Individual actresses such as Cameron Diaz, Natalie Portman, that's number 3 with 33 occurrences. Individual decades is the next highest with 29. Individual actors are the 5th highest with 29. For the low part in singles, it's SNL with 3 SNL movies with 3 occurrences. Movie quotes being 2 occurrences. Mixed bag has only been 1. Movie taglines has been 1, and reboots and remakes are 1. With teams, genres again appears the highest with 49 occurrences. Directors appears 30 times. Individual actors occur 25 times. Decades occur 24 times. Actresses occur 15 times. Scores and soundtracks are on the low end with 3 occurrences. Movie quotes appear 1. Mixed bag appears 1. Star Wars appears 1, and Intergeekdom appears 1. Of course, you couldn't mix in Star Wars and Intergeekdom together to get 2 occurrences, and therefore Oscars would be that 5th category. IG, it's Wizarding World that includes Harry Potter and Wizarding World with 20 occurrences. MCU occurs 17 times. DCEU occurs 16 times. Middle Earth occurs 16 times. Star Trek includes 14 times. Occurs 14 times, sorry. Movie release dates occurs 4 times on the low end. Who Said It occurred 4 times. Heroes occurred twice. Villains occurred twice. And scores and soundtracks occurred twice. With Star Wars, the top category is A New Hope. But it's also tied with Return of the Jedi, The Phantom Menace, and Solo, they have occurred 5 times out of the last 3 years. The Force Awakens occurred 4 times, and on the low end of the spectrum, Heroes and Villains occurred twice. Revenge of the Sith occurred twice. Villains occurred twice. Last Jedi occurred once, and Attack of the Clones occurred once.
What struck me as weird on that is seeing Empire Strikes Back only done twice.
Yeah, well, people have the option to spin away from it if they want to. So,
I guess.
Keep in mind, the Star Wars division has only like 50 occurrences in the whole last 3 years. So,
okay, a fair point.
Yeah, that's narrow. That's why the Star Wars division has such fewer occurrences than other divisions.
Hell yeah. Thank you, Double D, for those sexy numbers. And I love that Double D, sexy numbers. Anyway, y'all get it. I don't need to explain it. I'm old. What the fuck? Right now, we have got Frenchie's Corner coming up. Let's get Frenchie up here with me. And, what do we have on the plate for today, my man?
Let me do the screens. All right.
Sorry.
I tell you. All right. Yeah. Like usual, I'll be doing the ticker talking. All right. So, should there be a cap on one player only per team for the multi-divisional players, right? Because you got players who do 3 leagues, 2 leagues, and you got like Corruption who has like 2 players that can really intertwine. Barbarian can intertwine. So you got those players that bring another level, right? But should there be a cap? What do you say?
I say no, because if you're going to do that, then you're telling people that they have to pick what division they want to play in. And for one, that doesn't jive with wrestling, because you've got singles play wrestlers who are also in teams wrestling. And so, I mean, that already contradicts the wrestling aspect of it.
No, the wrestling is just the entertainment.
That's the only part of wrestling you're taking from it, is the entertainment.
I find like the promos, the this, the that. When it comes to ranking, when it comes to how you get your points, right? That is more aggravation. The wrestling is more the characters, the legacy part of it. It's less to do about the rankings, right? Especially since you have an actual real competition. It's not made up by one person, the results, right? So you can't really do the same thing for rankings. For me, it's a hard yes, because if you got a player that, let's say he's singles, but he's able to do Star Wars and Inner Geekdom, and then you got a Inner Geekdom person who can be in teams or singles. You got a couple of them. Well, you're touching avenues and also limiting the chances of your other faction mates. So to keep it more stable and as pick your multi-divisional people, I think you should be allowed with one, and it's going to really change up the free agency game, how people get signed, right? And if ever you even want one, right? So it really changes the aspect for next year and brings a whole different level of depth.
Maybe I'm making a bad assumption here, but I'm assuming that you're bringing in some sort of it isn't fair argument, because
no, it's not. It's not. Isn't.
Where I'm coming from, man, we got why would you want to limit them? There is no reason, in my mind, a logical reason to want to limit people to one division. If someone can play singles and IG, what's the issue with that? I see no problem with that.
It's not an issue.
It's 8 people out of 12 who are multi-division players, and then another faction doesn't have that many multi-division players, then I say kudos on the person who drafted the 8 multi-division players. Draft well done, and good luck to you racking up those points.
No, but I'm not saying it's a problem. I'm saying it's a way to evolve next season, right? You always have to find ways to make it feel different. If you have, like, let's say that means either like a Chance and Kalinowski, right? If they both definitely want to do in the same division, it could create a storyline for them, like do another excuse to break up, let's say Corruption, and do a new storyline because they both want to be a multi-divisional player, and you're only allowed one. So either they step back on one division, or they go to another faction. It mixes up things. You want things to mix up, right? And for me, that's the perfect way to mix it up without changing the whole code.
There's no, dude. You're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist, or
no. Yeah, but the problem is you have to evolve.
I'm sorry, I said the wrong thing. Hold on, I said the wrong words. I didn't mean to say that. You're not trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. You are overthinking this. Like you're because you're like, well, you go change it up. Okay. Yeah.
I have a question for you then, Jay Webb.
This is a drastic change that makes.
I have a question for you, Jay Webb. I have a question for you. Yes or no? Nothing else. No explanation.
What do you gain from doing it?
I just want your yes or no. Does Schmoedown have to evolve every season? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, well, in that case, you do not understand where this is going in direction, because there's a reason. There's a reason we got like a different type of draft than last year. We got agent signings.
But I mean, you don't have to sit there and think, how can I put the tools in the gears and tinker with it every single season?
You have to. You
have to, dude.
Yes.
No, you have to.
Yeah, but okay, you don't have to. But the way that Harloff is,
why you picked this? This is such a stupid thing to be like.
It isn't.
You shouldn't be able to have more than one multi-division player. Dude, I don't even understand where that comes from. It's so freaking absurd, man.
Now, for me, if you look at how Christian is evolving the sport, he is trying to find a way to differentiate every season, right? So what else? Like, instead of like, you've done the draft differently, right? You've done it differently. You have free agents. You have the rookie-ish, maybe like drafts. So maybe you don't touch the draft part aspect again. You try to evolve something else, which is the free agent signing. It's going to change the game. You're going to see people shift around. And that's what's good, is when you have a shift around, it creates new dynamics. And I find it's the simplest and most strategic way to do a mix-up without really, really overdoing it, right? It's subtle. That subtle difference makes a big difference without effing up everything up, right? So, but that's just me, man.
I understand, dude. I totally understand. Like, I think evolving, when you say evolving, is a little bit strong. But I mean, I understand changing things up, spicing it up. I understand that. But like, even though I understand that, this specific thing that you were proposing is just. Christian, please, for once, for the love of God.
Look. The way I see it, the multi-divisional people are like goalies, right? You got sometimes in teams positions that you only have one of them. You have 6 defenders in hockey. You have six. You have. But that's what I'm saying. You can mix and match. I'm not saying do exactly like it, because it's not a physical sport. But you can mix and match the philosophies you find, right? And one philosophy in sport is not every position has equal amounts of players. And for me, having a multi-divisional type of player is a type of like position almost, right? Because you got one league division people who are specialized in it.
They're called specialty players. What's wrong with having as many specialty players as you want?
And there's nothing wrong.
I say that's your fault for having a shitty draft.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. It just changes the way you play, right? Let's say Corruption wins again this year, right? Let's say they win again. If they're able to win the third time with only having one specialty team, they've proven that they're able to win no matter what the circumstances are thrown at them. You have to do challenges like that. All right, but enough about me. I think we got 2 messages, and then we'll go past with Dan and
really quick before we get Dan and Soda's take, and then we'll have Marie in. And just to let the stereo listeners know, we will not be taking comments during our interview with Marie Wilson, but you can still send them in, and we'll listen to them afterward, and we will have an open discussion about the pay-per-view matches after that interview. But here we go. We had 3. Let's see who they are.
Hey guys, Snark here with an unrelated legal question. I was driving home today. I saw a van that had a bumper sticker that says, "I'm speeding because I really have to poop." Do you believe that's a legitimate legal defense?
Ask Jeff Snyder.
Oh, I mean, you know what? No comment. Next.
Hey guys, Snark here with another unrelated comment.
We're
I would
never
just like
doing this
Matt
again.
to know that ever since 1991 or 92, before I've gone to bed, I've prayed to the good Lord above that he'd find it in his wisdom to burn Pavel Bure's fucking house down.
What?
Yeah, you know what? Since I'm a Canadian fan, I have nothing against that. And the last one, if it's Snark, I'll shoot you, bro.
The Schmoedown has to evolve every season or whatever, but it doesn't have to evolve for the sake of evolving.
Thank
it has
you.
to evolve.
It's not evolving for the sake of evolving.
It could be better to make them better, not just to make changes for the sake of making changes.
Thank you. But your example there is something that is just, you're just tinkering with something that's working just fine, dude.
It's working just fine for certain factions. But then we'll see what factions are able to thrive with one specialty player, right? For me, changing for the sake of changing is restructuring the whole thing, right? And trying to find a new thing. We're not breaking the code. Anyways, enough about us. Let's bring in
we got
Dan.
3 minutes here. Let's get Dan and Soda's takes here. You guys got 3 minutes, man. Tell us what you think.
Well, first off, Stark is just pissed because Pavel Bure scored his very first NHL goal in a Hockey Hall of Fame career against the Winnipeg Jets. So, because you take that Frenchie's corner off of my face, Lou.
Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. But also, I'm not in agreement with Lou's take, but I do like the hockey analogy. Mostly because when you're building a team, you want players you can plug in more than one position. Really, you want those utility players. So I really don't think there should be a cap just based on that. You want someone who, in a pinch, you can plug into that hole and you know you're going to be okay.
Yeah, I do agree that this. First of all, I do think there should be a cap. I don't think it should be just one. That's my number one take. Number two is that I think it's kind of moot because you are bringing in more people for specific divisions. Like you have people who are just mainly Star Wars, like Marie, that's who are I guess. You have some who are just intergeekdom, maybe Star Wars, and then you have people who are mostly singles and teams. So it's very rare to see someone like Mike Kalinowski and Chance going 3 divisions. You're never going to probably see someone who's going to go all 4 because I think that's just way too much.
Yeah, they have to have like no job, a lot of money, and all the resources in the world.
Yeah. So, and the evolving for the sake of evolving, that's never going to happen because things do evolve over time, and it does evolve every season. But it's such a minute scale that we don't know about it. There's changes to the rules that we don't hear about, but it makes sense for their end. So there's things that do evolve over time, but most of the time we don't even see it.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think that is one thing that needs to evolve at all.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you guys agree with me. I hope that Christian.
Don't get me wrong. I do understand Lou's take of wanting to find ways to evolve, but I don't think messing with that is the way to go.
Yeah. For the love of everything holy, please. No, this is just. I'm sorry, Frenchie, but you are off your rocker, dude. Whatever. Now, everybody, we do have from the usual suspects. Marie Wilson is here. Hello,
Hi.
Marie. How are you doing?
I'm great, doing great. How are y'all?
Pretty good. And by the way, just going in effect, if you're missing, we played a hot potato game. The last person talking in the last segment got eliminated, and Dan was it, so he's going to be removed for 10 minutes.
I'll be back in 10 minutes. I'm not done.
There we go. Yeah, it's this game these guys decided to play, and I won. So, hey.
Yep. You got to make it a little bit more fun, and if you're going to play a game, then there has to be consequences, right? I mean, it can't just be like, oh, hey, you lost, let's go get a beer. It's like, no, you lost, I get a beer, and you get a soda pop. Let's go out on night on the town.
First off, congratulations on your win, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. How did that feel to get it out of the way? Now you've got your first win. Now you can focus on the bigger picture.
Yeah, no, it felt really, really good. And although, there are things that I wish I could have done better, I am proud of how I performed. And so I feel like my biggest thing after I won was okay, now I can focus on really, really getting into the nitty-gritty and really like it lit a fire under me to study even harder. So
And you had mentioned that you are used to the digital format because you did it this year for Dragon Con, which you
Yeah.
won. So were there any differences between the two experiences?
Well, I guess probably the biggest difference is that you are going up against just one person, and it's not like you have a whole bunch of people that you're going up against. And at Dragon Con, your questions that you get are asked to everybody except for the first round of the finals. After that, the questions are asked to everybody. And this, in the second round and the third round of Schmoedown, your questions are only asked to you. So there were, I don't know, there were times, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, don't get it right. Don't get it right.
Nice.
I'm interested to know, this was your debut match in the Schmoedown. What was your day like on the day of that match? Like, you wake up, do you have a routine, or do you like specifically set aside for that day, or is it just kind of like a normal day? Could you walk us through what your day was like?
So my day, I did not have to work that day. So I literally spent all day going back through some 2000 flashcards. So I spent hours beforehand studying and then started to freak out. And then and then by the time it came around to okay, there's nothing I can do anymore. All I can do is sit here and play and see how things roll out. And I calmed down because I was like, oh gosh, oh gosh. Just getting really nervous because I had so much pressure on me, so much pressure. And so going into that, it was cool though how once I sat down and got ready to do the match that I definitely calmed down and was like, okay, I'm focused. I can do this. And like I've seen where people on Reddit have said that like my nerves were showing on my sleeve and all this stuff. And I'm like, really? Like
I didn't feel
I
that.
wasn't that nervous. Like I don't know. But I mean people will, pull out of something what they want to.
To me, it
So
looked like you were trying to be zen the whole time, but when you were doing this, I'm like, she's meditating.
I was just hyper focused, and like whenever Sean would get a question that was his only question, only for him, like in my head, I'm coming up with the answer and repeating it over and over and over again in my head. And that was just my way of like focusing in on the situation. But yeah, I didn't really feel all that nervous, honestly.
Like I said,
So
you didn't look the part. You looked like you know what you're doing.
A little bit of follow up to what I just asked. Now,
mhm.
the match is over. You've won. You've talked to you've talked to Sam after the match and everything. You're done for the night. How do you relax? Can you relax? How, because I know, from doing some stuff and performing for people on stage that, that anxiety, or not anxiety, but the adrenaline
Yeah.
can go on all night long. But I mean, so what is that night like after you've won that match?
I did. Well, it's kind of bittersweet because of certain things that I've signed, I can't tell people how I did. So it's like, okay, well, we're going to go out and have dinner and enjoy ourselves. but all I can do is smile and nod. So
Yeah.
that was really tricky. And it's not that I don't trust my friends. It's that,
Right.
I feel like I signed something. I need to
Yeah.
stick with it. So
Yeah, it sounds like you want to break those NDAs.
yeah.
Well,
So
I mean, this is such a really, it's such a really cool thing to be a part of. Not just the competition, I would imagine, but from my perspective of being a fan and being a content creator for the community, and it's just a really cool thing to be a part of. I can't imagine, you don't want to do anything to mess that up or anything, and
no.
it doesn't even cross your mind. Something like that, I would imagine for me would be easy to keep that secret. Like somebody asked me how'd it go, just have to wait and see.
Yeah, exactly. So
So I've got a question. Well, it's a two-parter for you. So, how did Schmoedown get on your radar, or vice versa? And
uh-huh.
how was it overwhelming when you got drafted, and then all of a sudden you're meeting your faction mates and the studying starts and all that stuff? What was that experience like?
So Schmoedown got on my radar through Alex. He mentioned it to me that I should audition and try to get in. So he was a big supporter. And he always has been. He's always been super nice to me. So he's how I found out about it, and how I found out about the auditions. And it's difficult because there's not that much information.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go to the Schmoedown website, there's only so much
Yeah.
you can glean from it. So I struggled with trying to figure out what in the heck was going on. But I feel like I have a much better grasp on it. I joined the Patreon, so now
Oh,
I feel
perfect.
like I can keep up with everything, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I know how this goes now.
Wait a minute here. Come on, Christian, buddy. And obviously I'm poking fun here, but Schmoedown competitors don't get free Patreon. Are you kidding me? Come on, dude.
I mean, okay. So we do have free access to the matches that you would have to be a $10 Patreon to see.
Mhm.
But you have to go through channels to get access to those matches.
Okay.
And for me, it's just way easier just to pay the $10 a month and just get that link
Yeah,
sent
and
to
not
me.
just that. With the $10, you're also getting things like the Discord and all that stuff. So there's a lot of tools you're getting from there that, you know.
Yeah, so I think it's worth it. And then the second question. What was the second
So
question?
basically, you're drafted. Now you're
Yes.
into the world of Schmoedown. Was it overwhelming? Was it an easy transition? Like, what was that like?
It was a little bit overwhelming just because I only had about 2 weeks to prepare for my match. So I got drafted. My match was announced very quickly, and we went into the scheduling phase of figuring out when the match was going to be recorded. And that was, at first I was like, oh God, is it going to be like a week away? I was like, that's terrifying. Not because I don't know my stuff, but just because I had to learn to adapt to the game. I had to learn to adapt to the different way the questions are worded. Things like that. So it was a little nerve-wracking knowing that I only had a couple weeks to really, really get all that under my belt. But it's been great, like talking back and forth with my faction mates, and they're all super supportive, and Sam's super supportive, and that's been really wonderful for sure.
Yeah, he seems like he's one of those guys. Especially when you're a rookie entering, that's one of the people you'd want having your back.
Yeah, so we had Saul on here like a couple weeks ago.
Real quick, Dan is back. Welcome back, Dan.
Yeah, his 10-minute timeout is over.
So we had Saul on here a few weeks ago, and he said that he learned about the he learned everything he needed to learn about the Schmoedown in the first 2 minutes of his first match, more than 7 months of studying. Was your first match everything that you expected to be, or not?
I mean, yeah. I definitely. I mean, I will say this. So I've just how gameplay works.
Mhm.
I've seen where, or I've heard, like, don't forget you can go multiple choice. But the question that I missed in the second round, if I'd gone multiple choice, Darth Vader and Palpatine both would have been in
Mhm.
those 4 options.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't have helped me at all.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
No.
So the only thing that it could have done is give Sean less points to steal. But I didn't know that I was going to miss that question. So, like little things like that where you kind of learn, okay, so this is how that works, and the rest of them I knew. Like, yeah, I had to think about the Mon Mothma question, but I knew it. That wasn't a guess.
No, I
And
failed that one. I was like, isn't it Akbar?
You know, I'm like, it's not Martha, right?
so playing we did okay, so I will say this before, like, not that, like, maybe a weekend. So yeah, so a week before my match was recorded, we did a practice match, and that was really helpful. So that got me sort of in the groove with the game and how it was going to work. And so having that practice match prepared me for what was going to come in the real match, just like practicing JTE and multiple choice and stuff like that. So
Yeah, so you actually kind of answered my second question because it was about your round 2 missed question where it was Palpatine or Vader. So you kind of answered that for me. So I really don't have a second question to ask you.
That's all right. I actually thought about something. Earlier you were talking about, when when your opponent has a question and you're repeating the answer in your head. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Now, I think we all know those moments where if you say a word over and over, it starts to not sound like a word, and you start to question whether or not it really is a word. Now, this just came to my head. Do you ever recall that happening where you're saying an answer, especially with Star Wars, the
Yeah.
words, names of things are so odd anyway, where you say it so many times, you would then actually question yourself, is that it? Is that a word? I don't know. Has that ever happened to you?
I don't think so. I think when I do that, I'm pretty confident in what the answer is, so it doesn't really trip me up.
So okay, so I just gotta ask. So why was your first thought Vader in that question?
Okay, so Vader makes the comment, "I will find new ways to motivate them."
Okay.
And he's the one who comes to the ship and he's talking to Jar Jar. I mean, comes to the Death Star talking to Jar Jar and is basically like making it seem like he's going to be overseeing what they're doing. And then he mentions Palpatine. And so I was just thinking of that scene and not thinking about the long term who would be overseeing. So I was just thinking more surface, because I know I've been tripped up by surface questions before. So I was like, okay, this can't be as hard as it sounds. Or not hard, but it can't be as tricky as it sounds. And so I just went with my first thought, like, he's the one who got off the ship, said, I'm going to find new ways to motivate them and that kind of thing. And so I was like, oh, well, I guess, it's got to be Vader. And then the then I rewatched the movie recently, and there is a point at the end, towards the end of the movie, where Mon Mothma very clearly states almost exactly what they said in the question, and she says the Emperor. excuse me. So yeah, I was like, oh, well, if that said according to my Mothma or that said something else along those lines, like maybe I would have pulled that a little easier.
And we got a question from Sean Buckley in the YouTube chat. And that's right, folks on stereo. We are also on YouTube right now at the same time. It's awesome. And he asks, there was some discussion that the Yoda uncluttered mind line wasn't said in the movie. Did Marie posit that question because of this?
Yeah. I was a little thrown off by that question because I was like, I don't recall him saying anything, but basically I just did like process of elimination, like what makes the most sense.
Yep.
So went with that. But if you look at it, like I didn't need that 1 point to win.
Yeah, you were up by 5 points.
So I'm not too worried about like that whole thing. But yeah, it was definitely odd. It's like the Superman the motion picture, which doesn't even exist.
Yes.
So that question, it's Star Trek the motion picture. So
although
it was recorded the movie on VHS, and what he put down was Superman the motion picture.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I thought that was right.
Yeah, and in the early developments of Superman the movie, it was referred to as Superman the motion picture, and I have heard it referred to in interviews and stuff like that. But in all marketing and all DVD cases and all that stuff, it's always been the movie. But that's another match.
Yeah. But my point being, like, I don't know. It's tricky. But when you're coming up with a whole bunch of different questions.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what their method is or, whatnot, but
I've had one little snippet of that Taste of That Life, and I don't know how they do it on a regular basis because I was going to rip my hair out in the 2 hours I took to write wrestling trivia questions. I don't know how they do it.
Oh, yeah. All right, so I do have another question, and it involves your Dragon Con experience. Do you get multiple choice questions at Dragon Con during your Dragon Con experience? Or
wow.
not?
That's good timing because that question literally just popped up in the comments.
So in the finals, so of course you take the 50 question multiple choice test to even qualify to get into the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you qualify to get into the top 10, the first round of questions is multiple choice A or B. And then after that's 10 questions, all 10 competitors get 10 questions. And then after that, they narrow it down to the top 5. And from then on out, you're all getting the same question and you have a whiteboard.
Okay. So it's almost like a reverse of what the Schmoedown is in a way.
So and one of the things they do with Dragon Con questions is a lot of times in one of the rounds, what they do is they show pictures and you have to name what's in the picture.
All right, that's cool.
So
that adds a visual stimulation to it, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Marie, we are going to move on to our next segment, Hard Questions, right now, which actually has to do with that Superman question. It spawned this week's Hard Question. Thank you so very much for your time and joining us today. Congratulations on that match. That was a very well played match.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, and if you'd like to tell the folks listening, especially on stereo or on podcast form, your handle, anything you want to plug.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Alia Morgaine, and I have a Star Wars queer YouTube channel called Afra's Artifacts that I post to every Sunday, and then a review blog for all Star Wars canon media that is the StarWarsReview.blogspot.com.
Excellent. Be sure and check her out, and be sure and check her out as the season comes up and comes up as it continues in the Schmoedown. Thank you again, Marie. Good luck to you here in the future, and we'll talk to her again. Okay, guys. Frenchie needs to take care of something behind the scenes, so we're going to go to hard questions, and Soda is going to join me here for this one. And Soda, you don't know exactly what this topic is yet.
Nope.
But as you know, this segment is where we talk about things that, in a civil manner, we have a civil discussion on things that a lot of times a lot of people might get heated about and yell and go off the handle over. This one here was something that I wanted to talk about. And I'll ask the question and I'll kind of set up the two sides.
Okay.
And I'll kick it to you. Should mistakes by officials cost players points, regardless of the outcome of the match? Like in this case, the Superman question, right? It was a correct answer. He did not receive the points. Even if he would have, it wouldn't have mattered. You know what I mean? As far as the result of the match. But I'm coming from the angle of if we're talking about career stats for players and stuff like that, and this is something that it wasn't. This is where it's a fine line if you want to look at it like this, because you've got, yes, it was a mistake by maybe not the officials as in Christian, but on the side of Schmoedown of the competition. But then you would be like, okay, well, that's what Coy is for, and Coy should have challenged it, and he dropped the ball there. And then the thing that I really thought about the other day was, because for my mind, I have to compare to traditional sports.
I was going to do the same thing.
Yeah, say in football, you've got a running back, and he's trying to rack up all the yards he can for his career totals and for Hall of Fame and all that, right? He steps out of bounds, but the referee misses the call, doesn't call him out of bounds, and the next 30 yards after that he picks up go on to his total, or the opposite. He doesn't step out of bounds, and the ref calls him out of bounds, and he loses the yards that he gained after that. They don't get those yards back, which in this would be those points, is if you're going to compare. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm looking at it. It's a toss-up, man.
So for me, I'm looking at it from of course, from a hockey standpoint, because I don't really understand football. Hockey is more what I understand. So in hockey, there is a coach's challenge, where if something gets missed, you do have the opportunity to challenge it. But however, at the very end of the day, after the fact, the call on the ice, or in your case, the call on the field, stands. So I personally don't believe that you should retroactively give points in their stats. Once the game continues and you've moved that past that point, you don't get to revisit it, which is pretty much what they do in the Schmoedown now. The opportunity for the challenge was missed. Sorry, too bad, so sad. You don't get the points. The call on the ice, or in this case, the call on the game, stands.
Yeah,
the way it is.
That's the side I'm leaning on as well. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's the ref misses a call, and that's it. Same thing with baseball. They call a home run a foul ball, and he loses that home run toward his career stats.
One of the biggest hockey ones was, and this actually resulted in a rule change the next season, but was in the 1999 Stanley Cup Finals, Game 6, Dallas-Buffalo. Brett Hull scored the game-winning goal. At the time, there was a rule where you couldn't have your foot in the goalie's crease. If you scored that way, it was illegal. However, that happened. Stanley Cup winning goal. Call was missed. I mean, with an instance like that, do you go like the next day say, hey, sorry, we missed the call. We're going to go back and play No, it doesn't work like that. I mean, human error. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I think anyone not many have, but I've been talking about Schmoedown for almost about a year now, a little over a year. And my main thing that I'm into is the competitors and how much work and heart that they put into this, and the time that they take away from their daily lives or families or their work or whatever, free time that they could have. And so that's why I'm a big advocate for the competitors and the work they put into it. So a lot of times I tend to get caught up in that emotion.
And the flip side of that too, also that reasoning also goes to the question writers.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, something is gonna fall through the cracks. That's just inevitable.
And that's what the manager is there for, is
Yeah.
to find those mistakes and catch them in the moment. Now,
Yeah.
and this is not beating up on Coy. He already admitted that he missed that call. He should have
Yeah.
challenged it.
Like mistakes happen. Like that's just human nature. That's something I learn every freaking day at work. Every time I screw up, humans make mistakes. Best you can do is try to fix it as best you can. But in a competition sense, you can't go retroactively rewarding points willy-nilly.
Yeah. I it's one of those really unfortunate moments, but I gotta go back to what I've preached for a year when I always like to make those comparisons to traditional sports.
Mhm.
If I do that, I have no argument as to why they should get the points.
Yeah, 100%. There is no sound reason whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna challenge a call 2 plays later. You can't.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. The whistle starts, the play moves on. You got to move on with the rest of the game. You can't be dwelling on something like that. I mean, that's what the fans are for. We're the ones going like, oh, why did this happen? But in this instance, I think everybody knew it was just a human error. That's all it was. And that's why I said when I was actually pleasantly surprised and really happy to see the fans didn't jump down anybody's throat, at least not from what I saw.
Me too.
Shows that maybe us as Schmoedown fans are actually starting to mature a little bit. I'm saying a little bit, not a lot, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. You're always gonna have those little dark spaces.
And that's why I stay off Reddit.
Yeah. I don't know why I said underneath the refrigerator. I don't know. Is it dirty underneath my fridge? I don't know. That's
I do not want to move my fridge.
Yes, I'm hungry. Frenchie just told me you're hungry. That's why you brought up the refrigerator. But yeah, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up real quick there for hard questions. Really wasn't too deep to get into, but I did want to bring it up because there was discussion about it on social media and Facebook and whatnot. Definitely want to address things like that and talk about it. And
this honestly is my favorite segment of the show because we're doing what humans should be doing, really, is discussing the stuff in a civil manner, not really at each other's throats.
Yep, I agree. So that will do it for hard questions. Dan, I'm sorry, but we're not going to get your opinions on it because we're going to move on to some pay-per-view match discussion, as well as going to start with a couple of comments from Stereo that we've gotten here over the last 20 minutes or so. And then we'll get into the pay-per-view match.
Bro, send me some money to help me out with my school stuff. Please. Thank you, guys. I love you. Keep it up.
Hey, I love you too. Good luck with your school stuff. I am broke as a joke, and this is not that kind of show. Sorry.
Yeah, baseball equivalent. In 2010, Armando Galarraga pitched a perfect game, except he didn't because the umpire missed that there was a step on first. There was ruled an error, and they got an out on the next out. So he would have had a perfect game, but it's not in the books as one. So it's just is the way it is, you know.
Yeah.
If it happens, it happens. But gotta happen. What happens at the end of the game is what happened.
Yep, and
I'm in 100% agreement with that.
Yeah, I'm starting to come around on a lot of things, man. I'm like Frenchie told me the other day, OCD has a lot to do with it, but also it's just hard for me to get at, I grew up playing traditional type sports.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just in that mindset, dude. But I'm starting to get it. We have another comment here.
Do you guys think that the lack of bitching at the writers so far this season might have to do with the fact that there's an official rule book in place now? That kind of helps because you know that the rules that are in that book stand no matter what.
Yes, but I also do think in this instance, PJ going on backstage and explaining what happened also helped. Because, like I said, it was an honest mistake that just slipped through the cracks. That's all it was.
Yeah. Now let's be honest though. If those points would have affected the outcome of the match, there would be different sentiment right now from a lot of people.
Or if it was a title match and it was the deciding question, totally. Yeah. That would flip on its head real quick. But
so for me, that's why it's not now. As far as whether or not the points should be awarded retroactively toward his career stats,
No.
That's out the window. We've already agreed. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, because it's like, why would you reward somebody with a goal after it was deemed a no goal? It makes no sense.
But if it had affected the outcome of the match, then that's where I would not be so quick to take one side or the other. We need to seriously examine that, you know?
Yeah, and that's what happened with Team Tough Beats and whatever team that they were fighting. They weren't asked their round 2 question, and it would ultimately change the fundamental of that match. Ultimately, the other team won, but it wasn't by knockout, I believe. I don't remember exactly, but it would have changed the outcome of that match had they won, had they gotten that score.
Yeah, and it's like the whole David O. Russell thing from years ago too, right? It just comes down to semantics at some point.
Yeah. Or just flat out giving the wrong title when you could have just said the person's fucking name and got the points.
Yeah.
And no issues or nothing to complain about or question whatsoever. But if you are going to try to get fancy and give a title, give the right title or you shouldn't get the points. But anyway, the pay-per-view, guys, we had, Frenchie, we had Dan Murrell, who was my pick, my number 1 pick in the Schmoedown fantasy draft, baby, up against the In Snyder, Jeff Snyder. And yeah, Murrell brought me home some points, guys. That was a great match.
It was everything I expected from those two.
Yeah. I will say, though, there toward the end, I don't know. I've not seen enough of Jeff's personality, but it seemed to me like at one point he kind of not gave up, but he realized it was over for him. And it just became like a fun, like, he just seemed like he was laughing because there was nothing else he could do but laugh.
So it was almost like it was a defeatist laugh. It's just like, I might as well just have fun
To
with
be
this.
honest, yes, there at the end, I think it just seemed like he knew it, and it was just like what is going, like, it's over. What's going on here? But I don't know.
Well, he's done that in the past, but it actually ultimately went his way. I think it was quite recently. Obviously, with the team's title match, where he was like, it's over, it's over, and he ends up winning. A
little bit of a plug, if you want to actually hear what his mindset was during that match, we talked to him 3 days after that match on Northern Consultation. So go watch that and you'll actually hear what his thoughts were about that particular moment.
Yeah. And also, even at the Star Wars match, at the Chicago Live event match, he got a Star Wars question and he was like, oh, come on, because he wasn't going to get that. Ultimately, and I will say this, the fans kind of had that's what triggered him to get the point. So he just gets in his own head that he's going to lose when he hears the question, and obviously it takes Roxy to kind of go, come on, you can do this.
Yeah, which she is great for him with that. Now, this begs to differ. He's made, this question, I have to ask this. He's made it well known that he doesn't study. Do you think at some point he's had a great run with that strategy? Do you think some point that's going to come back to bite him in the ass?
I think he's full
now that IG is sliced in the singles division.
I think he's full of it, dude. I don't. When he says he doesn't study, I don't believe him. I don't believe him. I just don't believe
he does study
that's
a little bit.
his thing. And then real quick, also,
you know what? I also wouldn't put it past him either to not study.
I don't think so. But I do want to bring something up that was really, really. It was the highlight of my notes from this match. Murrell using the JTE, and then Snyder using the JTE on the same freaking question that Dan had used it on. Oh my gosh, I did not see that coming, and I was just like, what?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised, but that's how he is. He doubts himself, and he second guesses himself, and he ended up getting the wrong answer when he knew his first guess was the right answer. And that happens to all the players, that they second guess themselves and it ends up biting them in the butt. So
yeah, even the greatest players of all time miss the occasional shot. That's just shit happens, right?
Yeah. We got a comment just came in via stereo.
I'm not sure if we've had official confirmation, but I think that might have been the longest first question in Schmoedown history, minus questions that may have been challenged. But I don't think there's ever been a challenge on the first question before.
Not that I can recall. No,
Me neither.
No, I don't think so.
the great JTE fake out. Yeah, God, you remember those days where it was just there was unlimited repeats.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that little man.
Oh man.
Repeat the question.
When he says he doesn't
Yeah.
study, it means he watches all these movies for work and won't rewatch movies. I still don't believe it. He does. I think. I don't know anything. I'm just saying. I think he has to do at least some level of studying, whether it's reading something or notes or something.
Yeah, I think he does do that, but he's just doing that because that's his character. It's like, oh yeah, I don't study because I know that's part of his character. I think on some level he does study.
Yeah,
just as a refresher.
Yeah, he might study in a different sense than what we think of studying. Because when we think of studying, you're rewatching all these movies, you're making your notes, whatever. I think his studying, honestly, is when he's watching these movies for work. That's when he gets studying them. That's when he takes his notes and stuff.
It's fair. But that I do want to talk about. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, what did you guys think of Merle's attitude in this match? Because we saw him go, homage to the Smasher Smets with the hood, and he was just laser focused, no BS. What do you think of his changing character so far? I'm digging it. I think it's a much better improvement than the Merle we got at the very beginning, who didn't really know how to do character work. You could tell he's fully grown and he's embracing it, and I love it. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Dungeon Shill.
I love Dan Merle, and I love because it's Dan Merle. So I mean, yeah, this is definitely like a Dan Merle from like the golden age of Dan Merle, where he's Lakers are focused and you know he's coming for you. So I don't want to be the next guy who faces him. No, he's coming.
And the next guy is Adam Collins. So
that's gonna be an interesting. I'm gonna love seeing that match.
I do want to know though. Not a lot. But I was a little put off by Dan Merle's by the way he was acting in the opening scene with the phone call with he and Kaiser and Bateman. He was a little too much like, dude, shut up. I don't need you. You're just someone who drafted me. Just shut up. I understand he doesn't need like a big coaching and all that, but his attitude there was a little bit too much for me. I was like, uh-oh, man, I see bad things on the horizon as far as we're going to have. I think we're looking at a pretty heavy shift to heel here, like heavier than what I think we all expect.
You think he's going to go heel?
Yes.
I think he's going to stick. Furthest he's going to go is straddling the line as a tweener. I think that's where he's as far as he's going to go.
Yeah, I don't think he's. I actually think it was just like, dude, I don't need a cheerleader. I just need you to be there to challenge. I need you there when you need me. I don't need a cheerleader. And I think and Kaiser was like, come on, let's do this. Kaiser was like, come on. It's like, I already experienced this with Gucci. I don't need this from you. I just need you to just do what you want me. Just do what you need to do. I'll do what you need me to do. So that's not the attitude I'm taking.
And did you guys get from Kaiser in that at all that like he cares very much about being friends and buddies with Dan and being tight with Dan? He came off to me like a little kid that like hey, be my best friend. Like, hey man, like you're the best, dude. Let's hang out. And I have never seen Kaiser like that before. I've never seen him act that way. He was like a starstruck little kid.
Well, how can you not be when you've got the greatest of all time in your faction, right?
Exactly. I mean, wouldn't you be like that? Like, I got Dan Merle, like, God on my side.
Just hand me now.
That's a fair point. We got another comment here from the stereo.
Well, what's great about the Schmoedown is that Christian has different directions that they could go depending on the results of a match. Mm-hmm. So my theory is that if Merle loses the title match to Collins, then he goes full heel. If he beats Collins, then I think he might still stay, as you were saying, kind of in the middle there, or more to the babyface side of things.
I just after years of watching Dan Merle do his stuff in Schmoedown and outside Schmoedown, I have a hard time seeing him playing a heel and meaning it.
But that's the beauty of it.
But the thing you have to mean it.
He was kind of heel early on when I think the lines them or
Yeah.
him, but that never went anywhere.
Yeah, because as he said, he didn't want to play a heel, and that was a heel faction.
True.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
Yep.
and granted, that was what 4 years ago. Things
Yeah.
have changed, and obviously, we've seen he's gotten better at promos. His character work is better. So, I mean, I could be wrong. He could be fully make a great heel, but it's just from what my experience with him is. I just don't see it. I really don't.
I before we wrap it up here, I did want to touch on the wheel round. Snyder, he respun and landed on mystery films, and he nailed every single one of them. That was very impressive.
I saw that, and I was like, "Yeah, that's a Snyder category."
Yeah,
because he's pretty good in horror and thriller, and thriller's kind of like similar to mystery. So I'm like, oh, that's gonna be
he said that like area of movies is his forte. So I mean, I saw that, I was like, yeah, he's got it.
Yeah, that was great. And then Merle, he respun wrestling films. He spun it first and then respun it. So obviously it was his fate, and he nailed every single one of them.
I was so happy to see Suburban Commando as an answer. That's a movie I watched a lot as a child.
Yeah, this is actually the first time I got this high of a match, and I pretty much answered all of Dave Merle's questions. I only missed like one. I'm like, I have no idea.
I got them all.
I knew Suburban Commando because I've never seen it, but I remember Hulk Hogan and the space suit and the kid. I'm like, that's Suburban Commando, right?
And fun little fact: it has a pre-Undertaker as a supporting role as one of the lackeys of the bad guy.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And
I'll admit, when he respun the wrestling films, I was nervous. I was seriously a little nervous there. I wasn't sure how he'd doing that, but he did great.
See, that's an interesting category, because I was sitting there going, as they were asking the question, whatever, I was sitting there thinking, a lot of the wrestler and movie films are within the last 20 years. So it's, there's not that many older wrestlers in film movies. There really isn't.
Right. No,
right.
You're right.
Princess Bride and Over the Top are the two that come to my mind, and other than that, I can't think of any.
Rocky, one of the Rocky films where Hulk Hogan
was, and of course Rocky, and Rocky 3. I can't believe I fucking forgot that, because Rocky's my favorite.
That's exactly what I went to.
Yeah. Well, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Speaking of Schmoedown. Once again, please, if you're on the YouTube, subscribe to this channel right now. Help us grow, help us out. Come back next week. We do this show live every Saturday from 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time to 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And we also now are simultaneously broadcasting this show live on stereo, where, as you heard, we will take your comments. Soda from Schmoes of the North, why don't you tell everybody what you got going on yourself, as well as Schmoes of the North?
Okay, so I'm on 2 YouTube channels, obviously Schmoes of the North with Frenchie there, where we do our weekly breakdown of the matches. We do the interviews with the competitors. I also do have another channel, Get Sweaty, where I'm on several shows there as well. I just got done taping prior to this Get Sweaty, which is our top 5 topic show. Pretty much we get a topic, we come back, we present our list. It's pretty much our version of the top 10 show, but with more people. And then there's Recap in the Past, where me and Ben Rayner, we sit there and we review seasons of shows we love. We did Saved by the Bell first, which was a freaking sojourn because of how horrible the order is on all the platforms. And then right now we're doing my personal favorite show of all time, How I Met Your Mother. We just finished season 5, I believe, so we're going to be doing season 6 next week. Definitely check that out. And it looks like we're going to have a full house when we do our full series recap episode of that. And then also on Shooting the Breeze, which Jay Wade has been on before, where we just sit down for an hour on Thursday nights and we talk to our friends around the internet. You can find me personally at soda_the_saxman on Instagram and Twitter. And also last night on our live show that Lou was on for Schmoes of the North covering the pay-per-view match, it was announced that we have a new addition to the Schmoes of the North YouTube channel, and that is Mount Schmoedown is moving to our channel. So definitely check that show out.
Excellent. Be sure to check all that out, everybody. Support them as well. Double D, Dan Dolinsky. Tell folks where they can find you at, please, sir.
You can find me on Twitter and stereo at Dan Dolinsky. Simple as that. You can find me here every Saturday talking to Jay, talking to Frenchie, trying to tell him what the numbers are, but I fail every week, but I don't give up.
Now, Keep on trying. Y'all can find me on the Twitter as well as stereo at JWade1134. That's the letter JWADE 1134. Also on the stereo and at Twitter at the Jcast Network. And until next week, guys, be safe out there and have a great, safe week. You want to hear something funny? The mic wasn't on that whole time.
No way.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, wow.
So smooth.